You're watching Las Vegas 1. News and information 24/7.
This week on In Business Las Vegas, Station Casinos lays out its plan to go bankrupt. Will bondholders play along? Plus, two unions joined forces to organize casino workers. But why wasn't the local culinary included? We'll get reaction from culinary chief detailer. And first the smoking ban, then the economy. Now bar owners could take another hit to their bottom line. In Business Las Vegas, next.
Now from Las Vegas 1, this is In Business Las Vegas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Gillen. Dana Gentry is off today. Welcome to this edition of In Business Las Vegas. We are your source for the top business news of the week from the resources of the Las Vegas Sun, Channel 8 Eyewitness News, and In Business Las Vegas. Right now, let's take a look at our top story. Station Casinos hopes to enter Chapter 11 bankruptcy no later than April 15th. The locals gaming giant revealed the deadline in court papers filed this week over a dispute with one of its bondholders. Station Casinos earlier this month secured a forbearance agreement from its lenders that expires April 15th. The company is also seeking approval from bondholders to restructure more than $5 billion in debt it incurred when it went private. The deadline for their decision is April 10th. Station plans to enter a prepackaged Chapter 11 reorganization and exit it sometime this summer. One bondholder is seeking a court injunction to block the current debt exchange offer. S. Blake Burchison claims the proposal subordinates existing bonds during a station bankruptcy and that only certain classes of bondholders are allowed to vote on the deal. Station says Murchison's case is without merit. Profits evaporated for casino giant MGM Mirage in the fourth quarter of 2008. The company reports a net loss of $1.1 billion. In 2007, MGM Mirage posted fourth quarter net income of $872 million. The numbers resulted in a loss of $855 million for the year, compared with net income of $1.5 billion in 2007. The gaming giant, meanwhile, is getting more time to restructure its debt. News One's Harrah Wilkinson today with that part of the story.
The casino giant saw a major downward shift in the fourth quarter when it lost $1.15 billion. But now comes the announcement of a new agreement with lenders that will give the company until May 15th to restructure and avoid loan default. MGM Mirage chairman and CEO Jim Mirren outlined the agreement during the company's fourth quarter conference call with investors.
What the banks and MGM attempted to accomplish with the waiver and amendment was to give us some runway for a couple months so that we can work with the banks and come up with solutions.
As part of the agreement, MGM Mirage will not be able to sell any of its assets within the next 30 days. Mirren confirmed that there has been widespread interest from buyers in several of the company's properties, but he declined to say which ones.
One thing that we do know about MGM Mirage is that we have the highest quality assets, the most desirable assets in every market in which we operate, and they are operated by the best people in our business. And that will be part of the dialogue that we have, and we will not talk about any specific asset sale at this time.
There had been widespread speculation that the Bellagio on the Strip and other assets might be sold to help ease the company's tremendous debt and to help finance the multi-billion-dollar City Center project set to open in December. Meanwhile, MGM Mirage says it is still utilizing cost-cutting measures begun in October 2007. The company says it will be able to save $700 million. When asked about City Center and why the decision was made to move forward with the project in spite of the economic crisis, a company spokesman said there was no proof that the economic environment would be any better at a later time. Deutsche Bank's Bill Lerner also listened to the conference call. He says while there were few surprises in the information released, there is still the probability that the MGM Mirage will have to sell some of its assets in order to remain viable.
I think asset sales will happen. I think there's been lots of interest. I don't know if the Bellagio is more likely than any other property, but I don't think it's their first choice to sell. You may see asset sales for them in Detroit, in Mississippi, in New Jersey, maybe even in Macau, and some number of casino assets here.
I have no illusions that this is going to be easy. and I welcome everyone's observations, and I do not at all harbor any ill feelings toward people who think that we will fail, because this is not without risk.
Carol Wilkinson, Las Vegas 1.
MGM Mirage isn't the only gaming company considering casino sales. Harrah's Entertainment says it may sell some of its assets to help restructure its debt. The gaming giant owes more than $24 billion, most of which is due in 2010 and beyond. Company representatives say Harrah still has enough cash on hand to meet operating expenses for the rest of this year, but its cash flow is shrinking as a result of the recession. Harrah's Entertainment widened its fourth quarter loss to $4.8 billion in 2008. For the same period in 2007, Harrah's lost just over $56 million. Now to another wrinkle of our recession. Are these tough times straining relations between employers and their unionized workers? In this week's Q&A, labor attorney Greg Kamer said both sides understand the challenges the economy presents.
It just changes some of the issues. Whereas before, people are selectively jumping ship and you're trying to enforce restrictive covenants and covenants not to compete and no rating agreements. Now you're looking at, well, how do we shed this portion of our business and still retain the best we can and not get into issues with our collective bargaining agreements or with charges of discrimination. And what I'm seeing is that the responsible labor unions are being very responsible with their employers in terms of how they enforce these contracts in tough times.
Read the Q&A with Greg Kamer in this week's print edition of In Business Las Vegas. The nation's biggest labor federation and its biggest union are joining forces to create a new coalition to organize workers in the gaming industry. The AFL-CIO and the Service Employees International Union are putting together something called the Gaming Workers Council. But absent so far from the table is the culinary and its parent union, Unite Here. Joining me to talk about this today is Dee Taylor, the culinary secretary-treasurer. Mr. Taylor, as always, great to have you on the program. Thanks. All right, so here's my question. How could they come up with a council and not include the culinary?
Well, they didn't include the Teamsters or operating engineers either. I have no idea. It seems somewhat bizarre to me.
Have you received an invitation yet?
No.
You haven't? Well, the goal, as I understand it, of the council is to really help two unions, the auto workers and the transport workers, organize dealers both here in Las Vegas and in Atlantic City. Does organized labor need a council like this to do this, or is this just one more layer that you frankly really don't need to get this done?
I don't think it's needed. Obviously, we have very good relations with the Teamsters and operating engineers. They're the predominant unions inside the casinos. Even some of the building trades are. So this sort of comes out of nowhere. There was no consultation, and frankly, I think it is what you said, just another layer or another organization that doesn't get down to organizing workers in our industry.
Well, your parent union is in the midst, really, I guess, for lack of a better word, kind of a civil war right now. You've got a faction, a breakaway faction, that's trying to break away. I mean, do you think that that's the reason Unite Here was not asked to join this council, because of some of the internal problems your parent union's having right now?
Well, I don't view it as a civil war. It's democracy. That's when you have democratic institutions and you have votes, that's what goes on. Just like in the Democratic Party, they had a very contested primary between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. No one said that's a civil war. That's a contested Democratic primary. We're having a contested election, and I'm sure that will occur in our union. That's good, that's healthy. I don't think we were included, frankly, because I think that some of the unions that were involved, including the service employees, really are interested in building real coalitions to help workers in this industry. Well,
this democracy which is occurring in Unite Here, is that helping, is that hurting your effort to just do what you do at the culinary, Local 226? Or, I mean, how much of a distraction is it for you right now?
Well, our chief focus, obviously, is right now is really have to do with the previous report about the state of the economy in the companies where we have workers like MGM Mirage, Harrah, and others. We're very, very concerned with that. We're very focused on that. We are giving a lot of information to our members, and also we'll probably be meeting with the companies, with our workers, and we've said all along when we meet, whatever's put forth has to be fair, share, and transparent. And so we're really focused in on what our members care about, which is, am I going to have my job? How are my benefits? What does bankruptcy mean or not mean? And candidly, how can I plan for the future? That's what we're really focused on, and that's what we're supposed to be focused in on.
Detail, we're out of time. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
The bill that would raise the county's room tax by up to 3% is now law. Money from the hike will go into the state's general fund, and starting in 2011 will be funneled to fund education. Voters in Clark and Washoe counties approved raising the tax last November. The measure becomes law without Governor Gibbons' signature. When In Business Las Vegas returns, state lawmakers resurrect an old plan to generate revenue. Plus, Nevada bar owners sound off against another potential hit to their bottom line. In Business will be back in a moment.